Hi, everyone, and welcome to StudioJake. I, of course, am your host, Jacob Airy. Be sure to like this video. Be sure to leave me a comment. Share it all over the place. And, of course, subscribe. It really helps me out, whatever platform you're watching on. I really appreciate it when you do those things. Helps me out. And today, I'm going to be talking. So, previously, I talked about the 10 best films of 2022. So, now I'm going to talk about the top 10 worst movies of 2022. Now, there were so many bad films in 2022. I actually considered expanding the list 12, 15, even 20 at one point. I mean, I even toyed with doing a two-part list with multiple films. However, after some deliberation, I ultimately decided to go ahead with my standard format. So, here are my top 10 worst movies of 2022. So, number 10, we have The 355. Now, it had a good setup and premise, but the writing and the woke political pandering just tanked it. It failed the actresses, and this movie just kind of felt blasé, mediocre, and tired. Didn't bring anything new to the spy genre, even the female spy genre. It was a worst version of Totally Spies, basically. And, it was such disappointing, especially since it did have a lot of incredibly talented actresses in it, but just the woke politics really ruined it. Number 9, we have The Munsters, another a reboot that felt like a cheap knockoff instead of a homage or even a remake. I applaud the cast for doing their best, and they did. I have to give credit. The cast tried so hard. You could tell that all the actors and the actresses were fans of the show, but it could not save the movie. It was boring, and it's such a shame because now I didn't watch the Munsters a lot as a kid. I just saw it occasionally, with reruns on, different networks that ran it. That it was just one of those things you would catch on TV sometimes, and I thought it was funny when I watched it. So I'm not all up in the lore and who's who and all that jazz, but I actually felt that uh, this particular movie, it's a Rob Zombie. You can tell he really likes the Munsters because he tried so hard to do it, but he just failed on so many levels to sort of bring it into the modern age, and it was such a disappointment. I was really wanting more from it. Number 8 is Morbius. It's Morbin time. Sony's vampire flick. It's not even good enough for a laugh. It was so boring, dull, and disappointing. And, if Sony wants to do this sort of Spider-Man cinematic universe that they're planning, they shouldn't do just every obscure villain or character that comes around. Now, Morbius had his heyday, but he's really more meant to be a sub character, whether it be fighting Spider-Man or Blade or something like that. This movie just is terrible. And some people don't think Sony should do a Spider-Man cinematic universe. I think it's possible. I just think they're going about it the wrong way. I think that there are other ways they can do this franchise, but the way they're handling it is not impressive at all. All right, so that was number 8. So we're at number 7, which is Pinocchio. Oh my gosh. So Disney remakes, I do think sometimes people are too harsh on them. For instance, Cinderella and The Lady and the Tramp, I actually thought were okay movies. Cinderella, especially, I thought was good. It managed to maintain the story, the nature of the animated film. The Lady and the Tramp, I thought it was good. They moved it from New England to New Orleans. I thought that was very interesting. I'm a Cajun, so I really appreciated that. I get some people's criticism of it. I still thought it was good. After that, they were all not that great. Beauty and the Beast was mediocre at best. Cruella was terrible. And Pinocchio was bottom of the barrel. It's just another one of their products, right? It's their endless line of branding. That's all this is. It's just another brand, and also the ending of it. I'm not entirely opposed to what they call open endings. This one just did it all wrong. It was pretty bad. It was it was a disappointing film just overall. Number 6, Firestarter. So I'm not a huge Stephen King fan. I do like some of his novels. I do like some of his books. I know he hates movie adaptations. Very rarely does he like adaptations, film adaptations of his novels. I'd be curious if he said anything this. If he has, please let me know in the comments. But with Firestarter, this adaptation, it has some decent performances in it, and I thought the setup was good, but it just failed to capitalize on any goodwill that it had at the beginning of the movie, and it quickly becomes mediocrity. And I didn't feel scared in it at all. I thought that it was mediocre. I've already used that term, but I just thought it was so disappointing, and I was kind of relieved when it was over. Right? I mean, it was not impressive. It was not impressive at all. So number 5 is The Princess. So this was written like bad fan fiction. It didn't make any sense. So Joey King plays this woman who she's a princess in this particular medieval kingdom. She's trained by a Chinese warrior who's also a woman, and basically a neighboring king stages a coup or I should say a takeover in her kingdom. He wants to marry her and make their kingdoms become one, and she just like kicks all of his henchmen's she just kicks them and they all just fall down. It was really embarrassing too. The acting in it is awful, and you can tell that the writer of this was they hired him off some website. They didn't even bother to do their due diligence with it. I mean, just awful. We're on to number 4. So this is Chippendale Rescue Rangers. It's nothing more than a mediocre grift and no substance. It was just nostalgia bait to attract children of the 90s like myself to Disney Plus, and quite frankly, it was an insult to the fans of the show. It was they didn't even get the original voice actors. Now, they did for some of the other characters, but they turned it more into a wannabe Roger Rabbit. In fact, Roger Rabbit has a cameo in it. Like, that's how close it was. Just a terrible grifting movie from Disney, and I'm so disappointed that they wanted to take one of their properties like that and to change it into that. It was just a disaster, and quite frankly, everyone involved should be embarrassed that they were even in it. That's just my honest opinion. As a fan of the old show, which was groundbreaking, not just in animation, but story-wise for Saturday morning cartoons and afternoon cartoons, Disney is a shadow of what it used to be. There's a reason 2 Disney movies are right here on this list. I mean, just a total 3 if you count The Princess, which was made by 20th Century. So which is acquired by Disney. So, just awful, terrible, no good, very bad, and such a disappointment. And like I said, insulting to the fans. And there's more behind that film that I'm not going to get into here. Read my review on my website. Number 3, we are at Moonfall. So, Moonfall, if you want to watch a movie where the characters make the dumbest decisions ever, recite the dumbest, stupidest dialogue you've ever seen, this is the film for you. Now, this movie was so bad. It's Roland Emmerich. He does all these disaster movies, and this was his latest one. I will say, this movie was unintentionally funny. I actually laughed throughout the whole movie because it was so bad. It's one of these movies that, even though it's terrible, you can actually kind of get some enjoyment out of it because it was so funny. Like, that's my honest take on it. But it's still a terrible movie. It's still a bad movie, but it's one that you can somehow enjoy a little bit. So now we're on to number 2, which is Interceptor. Now, Netflix kind of has a reputation for bad films. I still like to give them the benefit of the doubt sometimes because they're still getting their sea legs. However, this movie, it's another level of bad. It's, I'm actually a little surprised it even made it on Netflix. It's one of those that you would find on one of these random streaming services that's free with ads, which apparently Netflix is kind of turning into that, right? or it's one that you would just find randomly uploaded to YouTube with no context. Like, that's how terrible this movie is. You could even barely call it a movie in my opinion. I thought it was just real. The performance are terrible. The story was dumb. A lot of forced kind of Me Too dialogue, grandstanding, political pandering, just awful. It was almost number one. But then, has-been actress Alyssa Milano handed me my number one pick, which is Brazen, another Netflix movie. Now, you might be saying, Jacob, why are you on Netflix all the time? Because it's their movies. They're becoming a part of cinema. So we just have to, deal with it. And we have to be okay with innovation. We can't be like the people who didn't want to make the talkies. But back to Brazen. Thank you, Alyssa Milano. She is, a former 90s star, early 2000s, who was known for a teen sitcom, and then she was in some movie, a vampire movie, which was basically a Harlequin type situation, and now she's with Brazen. It's a boring film with a lackluster protagonist played by Alyssa Milano. It doesn't have any thrills that you might see in this movie. It's kind of a murder mystery, so you would expect it to at least bring a tingle up your spine just a little bit, but no, not at all. Just skip it, count your blessings, and go to YouTube and watch true crime YouTubers. That it is totally worth it just to ignore this movie. So anyway, those are my top 10 worst movies of 2022. I hope you enjoyed this list. Did you agree with any? Did you disagree with any? Please leave me a comment. I would love to know. And I'm very excited for 2023. Who knows? Maybe it'll be a better year. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you'll give it a thumbs up, that you'll leave me a comment, tell me what you think, that you'll share it out with your friends, and of course, consider subscribing to StudioJake. I cover all kinds of nerd and pop culture topics, including film, television, anime, comic books, and so much more. I hope that you'll also head over to my main website, StudioJakeMedia.com, where I have even more news, views, and commentary. Also, if you'd like to support the channel, head over to my locals page. That's studiojakemedia.locals.com. It's the best way to support me. I'm trying to build a little community there. I have exclusive reviews and articles, so definitely head over there and check it out. And I'll see you next time right here on Studio Jake.